sense. And so I was kind of wondering about the subject now that we're on the topic of the subject. I know you've read some Zizek, and Zizek is one of his big points that he makes with his concept of the subject, which is obviously very much influenced by Lacan, but also Hegel. And
Yeah,
for
it's Hegel.
Zizek, for Zizek, he what I was saying was that he often critiques liberal Hegelianism, the Hegelianism that emphasizes mutual recognition. And I can sort of see a parallel here, where I could see Zizek. Actually, I know Zizek has made this critique of Heidegger, where for Heidegger, there's obviously always this phenomenological being with others, that being with, we're always already with others. But
Yeah.
for Zizek, the subject is more so fun. Before there is any being with others, the subject is the its own singularity, its own radical break from all others. He would say self-relating negativity. That's a Hegelian
Yeah.
term. I don't think it's. I haven't read Lacan, but I don't think it's in Lacan
No,
at least. No. But
I would say
so
more Hegel, because I think that's like Hegel's way of critiquing Stoicism.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's actually the way he would critique a few of the stages of consciousness, like even like the famous master slave dialectic. Like the point that Zizek and McGowan and those guys make is that in Catherine Malibu is that this, it doesn't end with recognition. Recognition is always, it always fails. So
Yeah.
do you have anything to say on this idea of the singularity of the subject in the Zizekian or Hegelian tradition versus the being with of Dasein? Because I just see that Heidegger, because he doesn't have really have a notion of the subject, um, instead he has Dasein, he isn't able to think this radical singularity and break from all otherness that constitutes subjectivity, um, in the sense of as it's the self-relating void, however you want to put it. And instead, he's able to. This is the only reason why he thinks that Dasein is always primordially with others. If you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying there.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, and yeah, it's true. Like he does believe that there's like this singularity that we get, like that we are prior to being with others, and it's not to say like, as far as like outside of theory that we aren't like communal, but there is this gap, and uh, like as far as subjectivity goes, we aren't whole. And this is even a mistake in not just Heidegger, but in analytic psychology founded by Carl Jung. Because Carl Jung thinks that, there is this individuation, this totality that we can achieve. But as you pointed out from those other thinkers like Tom McGowan, that with mutual recognition doesn't work, because Lacan points out that this is pretty much the demands that the ego needs, this recognition. And even in other thinkers like Marx, that maybe not Marx himself, although Tom McGowan would say yes, but in just overall the Marxist tradition, that this mutual recognition of the class consciousness, and that once the revolution happens and we go through the stages of socialism to achieve communism, that this is the end of all contradiction. But that's only looking at it from like the, as far as like capitalism is the major contradiction, without realizing that there is still this contradiction, maybe not just antagonisms, but contradiction within subjectivity. And even Hegel talks about it too, like the contradiction between was it subjectivity and substance, like absolute truth and subjectivity, self-consciousness. But when it comes to Lacan, like he emphasizes this in the transference, like the transference, or he calls transference hyphen love, is this demand for love, which is a mutual recognition, but which trying to be recognized is the totality of the ego, but it can only be recognized through the other's gaze or through the other's willingness to recognize me. But it's like I can't have, I need to have this fantasy of a total image of myself uh, put in the eyes of the other and have this recognition. But we already talked about, and I didn't elaborate on it, but there's like the primary narcissism and the secondary narcissism. But the primary narcissism is the relationship between the mother and the baby, in which the baby has this image uh, of the mother. It's like she's giving me my immediate demands of hunger, like of need. But then the symbolic order is what creates a new form, which is desire. And then there's this desire of the other, and it's like no longer just immediacy of libidinal satisfaction. It is now a symbolic desire.
Yeah.
And the transference love is an example of how like the demand to be recognized as this image, but it's failed because, like, you know, as they said, that mutual recognition can't happen. It's a failure because it's just asking for a recognition of a fragmented image, which is not who we really are.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.